Okay, welcome back to Naval Action. One of the requests I've had recently is to do a piece on the boarding minigame. So I'm just in a mission, and I've been working for a little while on this trader. Not a trader, sorry, it's a frigate. And you can see I've really been smashing into his mast and reducing his crew, and I've been doing that fundamentally by stern camping him, where what you try and do is you try and sail across the backside of the ship. It's going to be quite hard to do now because he's so slow, but you sail across the backside of the ship, and alternatively you hit into his sails with ball or his crew with grape. Now I'm not going to be able to get behind him anymore because I've reduced him down so much. You can see he's in a lot of trouble. May as well dump these ones into the side there. So once you've managed to reduce the sails, this guy's almost a barge now. Once you've managed to reduce the sails, and I go the sails first, and then I remove the back of the ship, sail across the back of the ship, push grape along the length of the ship, and you really smash the crew. So I've taken half this guy's crew out. So the next thing to do is to start planning for boarding. So I press number 9, and that starts committing some of my soldiers to boarding. I'm just going to also muscle in on this guy now. You'll notice I've got my front sail turned. I'm really trying to bleed speed so I can get nice and close. Now, in order to board someone, what you need to be able to do is get them to below 3.5 knots. Well, if you reduce the sails down to 35%, that's certainly going to help you. So you need to be doing less than 3.5 knots. They need to be doing less than 3.5 knots. And you need your boarding preparation up above 50. So I'm just edging up there now. And I'm just trying to move him so he's into the wind. The AI has a rather annoying feature that even though you knock half its sails off, you can still sail a fair bit. I'm not doing much crew damage because I've not been working the sides here. I'm just emptying my guns while I wait to get closer to him. So I'm just going to go and open up my sails. I'm now going to take people off gunnery and move them into boarding. And I've got turned into the wind. You'll see the wind is running down the nose of our ships, and in a moment my boarding preparation should get above 48, hopefully. There we go, it's starting to go. So now I can pull. You'll see there's the G here. He's below 3.5 knots. I'm below 3.5 knots. So we execute pull. So I've ripped his sails down, as you can see. I've done that with ball, not chain. So ball's the best way to bring masts down. You get behind them. This is a good view actually, and you shoot along this line here. And typically doing so within about, once they get to say 78. Am I still pulling? No, he's just got too far away from me. Let's yap, more tap, Jeheil. So I need to pull back into him now. I've let him get away. Mostly if you shoot down the back side of them like that, then they'll, by the time they get to about 70-80%, you'll start to see their masts become a real problem for them. And usually about 75% a mast will drop. Now if you can, you aim for the crow's nests because they're a bigger hitbox. And once you've got the masts down, once you've got one set of masts down, then take off the rear armour and just do the same as you did for the mast, but this time do it with grape and aim at the top of the back of the ship, just sort of where you can imagine the captain's cabin is, and you rake. So now we get into the mini game. So you'll see I've got more preparation than him, which means I'll be able to execute any of my skills here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an attack. Actually, I'm not, because he's firing deck guns. So I'm just going to do a brace while he fires deck guns. Fire deck guns hurts you when you're attacking. Now, if you've got lots of preparation, you can wait to execute your move until the last 2 seconds. So I'm going to do that with attack. And you'll see there, Oh wow, sent him into crew shock, and I've won in a single go, so there you go, that's a 50 kill. Now that's no good. But basically, well, it's great, but basically what I wanted to show you was that what you want to be doing is you want to be doing attack. So you wait for your preparation to get up above 60. So to do that, you keep repeatedly bracing. You never attack when he's got fire deck guns, because he'll do lots of damage to you. So typically I find you brace. At the start you can use your attack pretty much as soon as you're ready. That was just so successful, I took his morale down to 0. And even though I didn't kill all the crew, there's 2 criteria for boarding. One is you kill all the crew, the other is you take the morale to 0. So I think because I killed so many, you look there, I killed, what does it say, 184 crew, if you see there. His morale was quite low. So what you want to be doing is against AI, now it's different against humans, but against AI what you want to be doing is you want to do an attack, assuming he doesn't have fire deck guns on. If so, just leave it in brace. Do an attack, but wait for the last 2 seconds. If you wait for the last 2 seconds, the AI can't switch to defend, which is the counter to attack. And then typically that will eat a big lump of your preparation. The later you leave it on the timer, the more prep it eats. Now you can buy mods to help with this, so you can buy Marines, for example, and they increase your prep, or you can buy sword fighting and other items. If you go in and look at the upgrades in a shop, you'll see all the options available to you. So after I've done my first attack, I would then brace. It's either 3 or 4 times, depending on your mods. I'm not kitted up for boarding on this ship. This is a chaser ship. It's maybe you just brace 3 or 4 times. As soon as your prep is above 60, wait until the counter's on 2, hit attack again, and typically you'll kill a 1/5 to a 1/4 of his crew. So against AI, I would recommend you always go in with a 3 to 2 crew advantage. Against a other player, I would go in with try and go in with a 2 to 1 crew advantage, which means you might have to spend more time stern raking and graping and knocking sails down. And it's even more time, of course, with players because they can repair. But you'll find with the AI ships and also with the player ships, if you really smash their crew up as I've done here, what will happen is that their cannon reload time really disappears and becomes a big problem for them. So basically it's 4 braces and an attack in the last 2 seconds, and you will cap an AI ship every time, and it will take about 2.5 minutes to do the cap. It does take about an extra 15 minutes over sinking a ship, just to be running around his bottom, stern raking him, knocking the sails down. Use ball to knock the masts down. I wouldn't use chain. It's great at wrecking the sails, but if you knock a mast down, well, you take out 1/3, 1/4 of his sails. Against players, it's a lot more complex. If you have the 2 to 1 numerical advantage, to be honest, the 4 braces and attack will almost always work. If he tries to attack you, use deck guns. What I'll do is I'll put you a link in the description of this on which are the pros and cons of each of the different things. So defend, for example, is a great anti for attack. Fire deck guns is a great anti for attack. Fire grenades, I think, is a good anti for brace. But each position has its antis, and they sort of rank from devastating down to minimal. Each one costs prep. During the game you can float over the info and it'll tell you how much prep, but what you've got to remember is if you do it on, there's a 15-second timer as you saw, if you do it early on the 15-second timer, what you'll find is that the opponent flips to the best possible ante for whatever your attack move is. And of course, if you're defending, which let's hope you're not, because it's never nice being boarded, if you state your defensive position too early, you won't be able to pop up the ante. The problem with defending, of course, is if your opponent's happy to brace, then maybe you have to look at doing an attack, but he's always got counters up his sleeve. It's much easier, to be honest, as the boarder, to dictate, because it's scissors, paper, rock, but as the attacker you can sort of guarantee going last. Give or take Aussie lag that runs at about a week, so it's actually the lag here is so bad it's actually 1986 where I'm playing. So I will put the link in with all the antes. This was meant to be a video on how to cap a ship. You can see that was super effective. Now I did spend 15-20 minutes beforehand knocking his sails down, and that's where the patience is, and then graping his crew. So if you have a wee look here at the stats, you know, I put 230 shots into sails, so that's probably what, 14 passes aiming at sails, and I nailed 140 crew. Now a couple of my stern rakes were a bit crap, so that's probably 8 passes. So what I actually do is I once I've done about 4 or 5 sort of passes on the back of the ship, using manual sails to give me a sharper turn, and slowing down as I come past the back of the ship, and then what you really need to remember to do is speed up after you've passed it, which I often forget, and then just turning back in, taking the broadsides on the nose of your ship, which is why you'll see the front of my ship is the bit that was damaged here, and then passing across the back again and giving another slap and tickle. So once I've done about 4 or 5 passes on the sails and maybe got him down to 70% or even knocked the first mast over, that's when I like to load one side with grape. So I leave one side with ball and I keep hammering at the sails to try and get his, ideally you want to turn them into a barge, one side with ball and the other side with grape. And that's how you cap an AI ship. Look, practice it in your missions. Get yourself in a mission like I have done here, where you're on basically one-on-one. The 2-on-1s are a pain in the ass. By the time you've killed one of the ships, you're probably a bit too biffed up to be doing learning. So do it on a one-on-one. I'm a trink against a frigate. You might be a Belle Poule against a Serb or whatever it is, and spend half an hour. You've always got a repair kit up your sleeve. Spend half an hour just practicing stern raking, so that you can, and to be honest, once you knock the sails down, the AI, I think they cheat a bit. They still have far too much mobility for my liking, but they do slow down a lot. And as soon as they slow down a lot, you can really dictate your attacks. And then, just to recap, once you've got close enough to them, they have to be below 3.5 knots. So do you. So typically you sail up next to them and sort of lean on them and gently caress them so that you're both into the wind, and both ships then will naturally slow down. I've done another video called a Serb capping a trader snow to get 60k in 3 minutes or some such thing. It's in my playlist. And in that one I don't bother graping the crew, and I don't bother knocking down the sails, because I'm up against a trader. I start with a 3-to-1 crew advantage, and literally all I do is sail up next to him, muscle my ship broadside to broadside. I take the pathetic hits of a trader and I just gently turn him into the wind. Now with traders you can do that, but with frigates and Belle Poules they'll be pumping you full of shot, and they'll also be pulling off you as much as possible because they've got the mobility. So really you have to work the sails first. I would always work the sails first, take their mobility away, and then work on the back side of the ship. Now I actually made a mistake in this case because I shot all his backside off. You don't really want them to leak because you don't want them to sink while you're capping them. You'll see it's been quite an efficient little run. All I've really done is taken his arse off. These bits and bobs here were just from bad shooting, basically, where I sort of tried to shoot his arse but kind of missed and came down the front of his ship. I should have left him with a little bit of bottom, and that'll stop him from sinking. Just a sliver. It might protect 2 or 3 crew per raking shot, but it will mean that you won't inadvertently, you know, try and board a ship that's sinking. Now, the purpose of this video is to show you how to capture a ship. Let me tell you, doing it in 2 moves, that might be a personal best. I don't think I normally manage that. Normally it will probably be, in this case I braced because he fired deck guns. I did an attack. I would normally do 4 braces to get back over 60 on preparation. I would do an attack again. I would do 4 braces. Now if you've done your raking good early, then that last attack, that 3rd attack, will normally finish it off. If you were a bit lazy and didn't whittle the crew down as much, it might take 5 or 6 attacks. But to be honest, if you brace, and attack, you will be killing 1/4 to 1/5 of his crew each time. In this case, I killed half and destroyed his morale. He had a few Marines. Then you'll get the ship. Against players, it's much more difficult. I would recommend at least a 2-to-1 advantage against players. But at the end of the day, because you're the attacker, you can always wait until the last second to choose the action, and that really does give the defender a big disadvantage. So for the defender, really, you just have to leave your prep as high as it can, wait for the attack, and then start doing things that maybe the attacker no longer has the prep for. Anyway, that's a bit of a video on how to cap, in this case, an AI. Work the sails, grape their crew, slow them down into the wind, and it's brace, attack, brace, attack, brace, attack, and you get yourself a free ship. Once you've done this, you can push escape. Now I could capture the ship by pressing X here. That would mean I start sailing his ship. Now why would you do that? If you're in a big port battle perhaps, and your ship was about to sink, and his ship was quite nice, or in better fettle than yours, you might choose to jump on board his ship. But in this situation here, where it's just a one-on-one inside a mission, there's no real reason to do that. So what I'm just going to do is escape, leave battle. Now, let's imagine it was a trader, and as you come into this screen, you'll see here you've got the captured ship. Let's see, it's a live oak. Ooh, there you go, that's just as well. I didn't waste my time trying to knock his hull down. It's a live oak. But if it was a trader, you might see that they've got like 300 or 400 tons of lovelies, compass wood, or some lovely expensive thing in here. Now, if that's the case, what you'll find is that you can't carry that in your hold. So if that's the case, what you can choose is you can come down here and right click, and you can choose to take command of the frigate, or the trader in that case, and then you can move all the heavy goods into the hold, and then your ship, so in my case it's this lovely super fast sexy time Trincomalee, the Trincomalee will appear down here, and then you can right click and send it to an outpost. Now I'm going to send this frigate to an outpost. I think I'm going to break it down because I'm making frigates at the moment. I don't really need the money. So I'm going to break it down. The other thing you should be wary of, if you're really grinding for money or XP, when you cap a ship, you get substantially less gold, and you typically get less XP because you haven't done as much damage. Now, you can recover the gold by selling the ship. The ship will sell for probably more than you would have got from the mission, but of course that won't get you the XP. But you do have the ship, and of course with that ship you can choose to break it down, which gives you materials for building a ship. Can be a bit pesky because it does use lots of slots in your inventory. Or you could elect to sell it and make yourself some money. So I'm just going to probably send this back to one of my outposts. Let's pick an outpost to send it to. It's a frigate. I am definitely going to send it back to Port Royal. There we go. So that was a pretty successful capping exercise. I'm going to head back to port now and smash my frigate to pieces to get lots of lovely bits off it to help me with my crafting. That's it for the video, so I will see you on the oceans and I will catch you.